Good evening, guys. Welcome back to another video. It's Stephen here. The day after City's 2-1 loss at the Amex Stadium against Brighton. Yeah, it stung. Absolutely did sting. It still stings 24 hours later as well. Obviously, we've calmed down a little bit. I think the reason I'm a bit calm is because I felt that this was always coming, that this was going to happen when I saw the run of games and I saw the injuries, and of course compounded all that injuries on top of Rodri. I am reasonably calm about this, and I think it's because as well the fact that we're at the international break now, a much needed international break if we're being honest. But there are still, in the cold light of day, well it's dark now because it's winter and all that, there's still loads to talk about, and to get down into it without all the emotion sort of clouding us. Things are very sensitive right now. I've noticed that in the City community. You can just talk about one player because you're thinking about one player, and everyone can jump on you and go, why are you talking about that player? And go get very defensive and very abusive because everyone is very, very sensitive. I would urge to everyone to be calm and civil because, you know, we're all a bit emotional, but don't take it out on each other. I also urge everyone to remember that none of us, anything of us say online makes no difference really in the grand scheme of things. I've seen quite a few people go, you're part of the problem for being positive, blah, 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 blah. No. You're not part of the solution. I'm not part of the problem. That's called main character syndrome, presuming that anything we do has any impact. We do not have any impact on Manchester City Football Club. I can guarantee you. We could all, millions of us could get together and tweet, sign, blah, blah, blah. They wouldn't do it. They don't care what any of us think on social media when it comes to signings and all that kind of stuff. So before anyone gets too like, oh, we should fix it together, we can't. We can observe and talk and discuss, but we can't influence. You all need to remember that. That's me reacting to loads of people having a go at me for me apparently being responsible for City losing. I don't get it. People are lashing out emotionally, so we need to remember that all we can do is discuss football and enjoy it or not enjoy it, but we can't do much more than that really, if we're being totally honest. And we've got to watch, and hopefully things go wrong, but we are just observers. We're not involved as much as you want to presume we are. The club don't care what we think, and rightfully so, because fans are emotional. Fans are reactionary, myself included. So it would be stupid to listen to us, and that's honesty for you. So anyway, it wasn't great yesterday, of course. I'm sort of the belief that some things are needed, you know. I'm sort of the belief that we need sometimes a slap in the face to get a sort of realignment. It is possible that there's too much of a good thing. I do think winning 4 leagues in a row and winning all those trophies sort of can poison the mind a little bit. Not in an unhealthy way in terms of an arrogant way, but I think it can make you a little bit complacent unintentionally. I think it can make you a bit entitled. I think it can slow you down and null the senses a little bit. Too much of anything is not good for you. I know that sounds crazy because success is wonderful, but I don't think it's healthy for any team to win like 10 leagues in a row. Might be fun, but I don't think it's even that fun. I think there's something about you need the hunger. So I do feel largely that this could be a good thing for us. That's not actually the 5 things that I was going to talk about, but I do actually feel that's a decent point to make, that I think it might be good for us. Deshaun saying, but they should have listened to a fan said sign a Rodri back up. Look. They probably know that anyway, mate. I don't think the fans know that. Everyone knows it. Like we only ever say the obvious. We're not ingenious with what we're saying, you know. They know that, and I don't think they're listening to fans' advice. The reason they wouldn't have signed a Rodri back up is because someone probably didn't want one. I have a feeling it might be on Guardiola a little bit, you know. I've got a feeling there are rumours that Guardiola wants a small squad and was that bothered. And maybe I don't think it's not that they didn't want to sign it. It might be an element of just got it wrong, like in terms of they signed the wrong players, they missed out on certain players, and they just didn't do a good job, you know. I think they've attempted to address it, just not very well. So let's go to the first thing I want to talk about, and it basically was this was coming. And by this, I mean this horrible couple of weeks, this spell that the club have been under. 4 games in a row, 4 defeats in a row. Pep Guardiola's first ever consecutive 4-game loss. This was coming. It was. When you look at what's been going on for the past few years, I think since the treble, last year we won the league, but City is weird because we won the league last season, but we were 7 out of 10 by Man City's highest standards at times. I don't think we're anywhere near that good. And I do think we had too many misses in the transfer market. You can debate all day, but the fact I would argue that no one ever debates if Diaz is a good signing. No one ever debates if Bernardo was a good signing, if Rodri was a good signing, if Morris was a good signing. Nobody ever debates if Alvarez was a good signing, you know, because they had their worth. The fact that there is noise around certain players that City have signed over the past few years suggests to me that they are debatable by default. Like, no one debates the quality as a signing of Nathan Ake. No one debates Ederson. No one debates the signing of Vardiel. So a lot of people debate, and it doesn't matter what side of the debate that you're on, of Nunes or Kovacic or Calvin Phillips or Doku or whatever. The point is, the fact that there's a debate shows that they're not 100% successes. So the very definition of those discussions proves, regardless if you think people are wrong, people don't debate when it's a guaranteed win. So I would argue the fact that all this discussion's had is that there's been some signings that haven't 100% hit the mark. So we've had that. We've had a little bit too much success. I think it's poisoned the mind a little bit. I think we've had some bad mistakes in the transfer market. I think we've made some poor calls to not go again to replace Rodri, not replace him, help him, and replace Alvarez. You had to replace Alvarez. I know it might have been Pep's idea, but I'm a firm believer that sometimes, one person can have too much power. And if it was Pep's idea not to go for a strike and say, I'll be fine, I think he should have been sort of overruled to an extent, I think sign a player, put him in front of Pep and say, crack on with it. There you go. There's a backup guy for you. I don't know. And then this was coming as well because the injuries, I feel, were just too much. I feel they were too much. I think the Premier League is actually getting better. I do agree with that as a synopsis. Yeah. I think, not synopsis, analysis. I agree that the Premier League has been getting better. I agree that everyone wants to hunt us. I agree that the injuries are too much. I agree that the players are too tired. And I agree that maybe the transfer things haven't been... transfer strategy hasn't been right. I actually think we have spent money. I just think we haven't done it that well. So, not that we have done it very well over the past, but not that great. We've done it okay as opposed to, great where it used to be. And we've got an older squad, and it's one of those things where I can't see how this, once the injuries started piling in, I can't see how this was avoidable. I really can't. I mean, the only way it was avoidable was a deeper squad. But there's also an element of luck or bad luck in play. Like, if you get this many players out, away from the squad stuff, there's no manager in the world that could manage without a fit De Bruyne, a fit Rodri, a fit Kyle Walker, a fit Oscar Bob, Jack Grealish, Doku, John Stones, Ruben Diaz. The list is ridiculous. It's so high, and some of those players are around the squad. Kanji and Ake currently unavailable. They were on the bench, but they weren't fit. Otherwise, they would have came on at some point. And they're clearly not available. So I just think this was coming, and I think we sort of have to take on medicine really, and fucking pull our big boy pants up and just get on with it. Like, I don't think there's an obvious solution to this other than time, and it's hard. And I think the thing that makes it sting so much is that we're all thrashing around, and I see it on the internet. I see everyone. There's a lot of pointing and blaming him. It's Rico's fault. It's Kyle's fault. The players aren't trying hard enough. It's Haaland's fault for missing chances. It's Nunes' fault for not being good in the middle. It's Vardy's fault for standing on the ball. It's Ederson's not a good enough shot stop. I've seen everyone blame for something. So I keep seeing players get involved and getting blamed. But I do feel, it's if you're pointing the finger at that many players, it probably is a lot deeper than just blaming the players, if that makes sense. It's probably more the fact that it's a collective. It's more of a collective issue. So, yeah, I've put the volume up for you, mate. Sorry, but I didn't realise. So, I guess what I was trying to say is, we're all thrashing around looking for someone to blame, but I don't think it's that. Everyone's trying to find something. I think a lot of the issues are off the pitch. I think it came down to poor planning, ultimately. I don't think it's the players. Even though some of the players aren't playing well, I don't think it's the responsibility of the players right now. I think they are tired. I think they are... they're not inexcusable, but I think the larger issues aren't of their making. I think it's mainly off the pitch. Be it Pep, be it Cheeky, be it Soriano, be it Barada, we don't know. And look, Mad Hatter said Pep's the main issue, from squad size demands, refusal to adapt his tactics last season. Look, the only thing I would say is that we never really know. We saw some rumours that suggest Pep wanted a small squad, but we don't know if it's true. We don't know if he doesn't want players. Maybe he just doesn't want shit players. You know what I mean? Maybe he was offered some players and goes, and I mean this with respect to the Celtic lad, but Kyogo was offered to him. Maybe he doesn't want Kyogo from Celtic. Maybe he wants someone better than that. And I don't blame him. With all due respect, maybe he just he doesn't want a player. He's just don't give me a player I'm not going to rate. Give me someone actually good. And maybe they didn't come to it with the budget. Maybe it isn't Cheeky's fault, because maybe he's been told he can't spend that much because of the 115 charges. So you never know what's going on. It's hard to say. I think it's a clusterfuck, basically. And I don't feel I know, for what it's worth, by the way, I still believe that even without Rodri, if everyone else was fit, I still think we win 3 out of those 4 games. I really believe that. I really believe that. I think it's tiredness and fitness and injuries. Next thing I want to talk about, this is an issue, I think, actually, that comes down to recruitment and profile and all that kind of stuff. Let me find the tweet about this, actually. Little game for you as well, potentially, of guessing whose is whose. So I think there's a lack of goal scorers in the team right now as well, which is affecting us. Let me just bring up a tweet that I did earlier, and I'll show you this here. So I tweeted earlier. It's hard not to see that there's goal scoring issues in the team right now. Of course, returning players will help on that front naturally, like Bob Fit, KDB, Roger would help. But I do think we need some killers in the side. I put screenshots attached to the stats of Sterling, Jesus, Mahrez and Alvarez. Even in their off-seasons, they were guaranteed goals for Sterling and Jesus. They get 15 plus pretty easily. Alvarez and Mahrez were just good goal scorers in general too. So I also went on to say, I think all of Grealish, Doku, Savinho, Bernardo have the merits, but great goal scorers they are not. Comparatively, I do believe goals will come in time for Savinho, and Doku hopefully improves on that front too. But for now, it's fair to say that if it's not Haaland or Foden, then probably no one else in the team can chip in regularly. I mean, these are the stats here for certain players. That's the stats of, you can probably guess who those stats are. It's bad hard to say we could do so much better tactically. Maybe we could do, mate. I actually get that, but for what it's worth, I still think if everyone was available, we probably would be winning even tactically. That's the point is, I think he wants a tactic that he wants to stick to. He'll probably change it anyway. Like, I'm not going to teach Pep tactics, mate. I can't tell Pep Guardiola how to do tactics. I think the issue is still our personnel. But that is Alvarez there. You see Alvarez there. 17 goals, 19 goals at the end there. Who was this one? I think that was Sterling's stats, was it? Yeah, this was Sterling's stats, I think. Sterling there, 95. Is it Sterling's stats? I can't see how many goals there. Is that Sterling or... That's Jesus' stats. There you go, 95 goals. You saw your 13 goals there. The bloody arrows over it. 13. He's got like 13, 14, 21, 17. Then you've got the stats there for Mahrez. 15 goals, 24 goals. That's covering it there, the arrow. 13 goals, 12 goals. And there you got the stats for... That's Sterling stats, 11, 10, 23, 25, 31, 14, 17. Look at all those goals there, basically. And the point I'm making is that even on his bad day, Sterling scored goals. Like, even in his bad season, Sterling was good for 15 goals in his sleep. Alvarez was good for 15 to 20 goals. Jesus was good for 15 to 20 goals. Mahrez was good to 15 to 20 goals. And as much as I really do think Doku could be a very good player one day, he's not a great goal scorer. Five maximum right now. Grealish 5 maximum right now. You know, Savinho's not scored his first goal yet. I actually think Savinho's got goals in his game, but I think it's confidence. Bernardo is not a great goal scorer either. De Bruyne is not scoring because he's not fit. Rodri's not there, he gets 10 goals a season. Gundogan's not in form, probably won't ever get back to his goal scoring best again because of his age. Kovacic isn't a great goal scorer, and Nunes isn't a great goal scorer either. He scored a couple recently, but he's not a great goal scorer. So other than Foden, he's not scoring at the same rate as last season either. I don't think we've got any goals in the team, and I think the problem we've got there is a lack of killers, and it's all on Haaland. And I think sometimes, I look at Liverpool and Salah going through and scoring goals. I look at Gakpo and Jota and Nunes and Diaz all chipping in with goals, and they haven't got. I don't think any other sides have got a killer like Haaland. But I'd take 5 less Haaland goals for 15, 20 more goals from the rest of the team, wouldn't you? So I do think, unfortunately, we the next time we start signing players. Mad Hatter, mate, I get it. You don't like Pep's tactics, but once again, I think it's very arrogant, unintentionally, to tell Guardiola how tactically to do his job. He's Guardiola. And yes, what I would say is your point about a car crash, mate, isn't good for personal health. Yeah, I understand we've been open, but yesterday, actually, the tactics were different. The tactics were different yesterday. We didn't play a 3-1-6. It was a 3-2, 3-2-5. And it wasn't. It was different yesterday. He did actually try. He did change it yesterday, but it was still fitness. It was still injuries. Like, we didn't play just one ahead of the back 4 yesterday, back 3. we our most successful season, we didn't play a back four. Like the treble season wasn't a back four. We've not played a back four in years under Guardiola. We played inverted pretty much since his Centurion season. We've always played a 3-2 shape, 3 centre backs and then a midfield inverting. We've not played a back four ever under Guardiola, ever, full stop. We've always played one fullback like Cancelo or Delph or Zinchenko who's come in, or Vardiol going forward, or Rico Lewis. And it's one of those things where I look, Guardiola is persisting, knowing that, look, I don't need to talk about Guardiola's tactics. Guardiola knows how to do tactics. The personnel right now isn't there. The fitness right now isn't there. The energy isn't there. The ideas aren't there. And I think it's that. He hasn't got his team right now. So I won't judge his tactics until he's got his team. We always do this. Then he sorts it out by January usually. So yeah, like I think we need a goal scorer. I think we do. I think it's on to Haaland or no one. We miss chances, because if you're going to concede goals, score goals. And City still are creating chances, that's the thing. Second half, not so much. But against Brighton, we should have been 2-0 up in that first half. And now it's a different game entirely. The next thing I want to talk about is... Not that one. That's not the right one. Okay, where's it gone? Where's point 3? Why is it not coming through? Here we go. This is not what I meant to put through. That's not free at all. Point 3 was... this. SimpsonPY is a real talent. I think it's one of those things where, and I'm not saying it was perfect yesterday, but you've got to consider the circumstances. SimpsonPY is coming into the team right now in the worst ever run of a Guardiola side. That's mad to say out loud. He's coming in when all around him are absolutely dead. There was a quote yesterday from, let me find the quote from Guardiola about SimpsonPY. Let me find it. Delap scored again today and got an assist, by the way. I just saw that. I'm trying to find, the quote from Guardiola about SimpsonPY. What can I find it? But basically, he talked about how good it is to do what he's done without all the defenders around him. Absolutely. Like, the way that we played right now, it's just not there for a younger player. There we go. So these are the quotes from Guardiola. He said this. He said... it's not easy for SimpsonPY. Normally, the young lads come in with the support of the team. Rodri in front of them, the best Kyle Walker and other defenders. He's playing in a position that is difficult for him, and he performed unbelievably. I like the fact that he said the best Kyle Walker, because what he's saying there is that Kyle Walker right now is not very good, and he normally have Rodri in front of him. Young players come in with that bedrock of seniority around them, and I think that's very telling, by the way. Guardiola values that experience around young players. The fact that he can come in and still like a decent centre-back, despite the chaos around him, despite, zero experience, and actually do a good job for a long time until it all crumbled in front of him. He's a real talent, man. I think he was let down by the senior players. I agree, Matthew. His pass choice was really nice. There's one particular spell where he shoved off Welbeck off the ball. Really nice, good bit of defending. Then Ederson played a hospital pass. He span away from the defender and played a beautiful sort of line-breaking pass to one of the midfielders. So nice. He's got it all. He's got a good turn of pace. He's strong. Obviously, he's very young. But I really like him. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he's that raw, actually. I don't think he's that raw, Daniel. I think he's just young. Like, raw usually implies loads of mistakes and leggy. And I actually think I think he's really talented. I don't think he's just inexperienced as opposed to raw, if that makes sense. Because I don't think there's loads that needs refining other than just reading of the game. Like, I don't think he's technically raw or anything like that. Raw, to me, is always when they're technically just a bit off. I think he's just experience. I think he's learned to play, but I think he's done really well. He's a really nice talent, and I sort of hope that Guardiola keeps him around the first team. Caden Braithwaite was really good as well in that other game, and we've got Doyle out on loan doing really well. We've got an awful lot of them. Talent like Howard Bellis has obviously left Man City, now he's called up for England too, but I think he's a nice positive from the last couple of games, even though it hasn't been perfect. I think he's done himself proud, SimpsonPY, and I think he's got a lot of credit in the bank. A really nice talent. The reason I've singled out Rico here as opposed to everyone else is because I actually saw a lot of hate towards Rico Lewis online, and I really resent it, if I'm being honest. I really hate fickle people. I really do. And I think football fans in particular, it can be myself too, and we all do it. Football fans are the most fickle people on earth sometimes. And there's been so much hate towards Rico Lewis online for the past week or two because Rico's playing poorly now. He is. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Rico is playing wonderfully. But I remember at a time when everyone, not just City fans, as recently as 3 months ago, were saying Rico's an absolute wonder kid. Everyone was saying it. Like, if you just go on Twitter and search Rico Lewis, you know, the comments were just so positive around him. Everyone was so, you know, everyone was just so gushing about how good he was playing. You know, it's one of those things where, like, he was getting widely praised everywhere. He was like, actually, I would argue in the first 3 games of the season, he was our best player. He was brilliant. And I know right now he's out of form. And I think he's making mistakes, actually. But I think Rico at his very best is sharp, he's electric. And I don't know what his best position is, I don't. But he's been performing so many different roles to such a high standard at his very best. And people are acting like he's always been shit and all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't agree with it at all. And I think the problem Rico's got, as often is the case with young players, is that I feel like he's just... Young players are often the first to suffer when a team loses confidence because, one, they are young. They are much more vulnerable to changes in mood and all that kind of stuff because they don't have a bedrock of experience to lean on. Only truly unique footballers aren't affected by experience, like lack of experience. Even some of the greats, like, you know, there isn't a single, like, maybe 1 or 2 freak exceptions like Messi or whatever, or Ronaldo, but pretty much everyone will go through poor spells of form when they... Let me know. This is for the video. I might be live again. Am I back again? Let me know. You able to see me? Don't know. 1 2 1 2 1 2. We will see. We will see. We will see. I think I am live again. Am I back again, guys? Yeah, so that was wild. So I don't know what's going on in the video there. Basically, we had a blackout in my area, so I can't believe like it didn't end up streaming. You know, ending the video for whatever reason. Every light, every bit of electric in the house went off. Every single light of electric. That was just crazy. A weird scenario, and I've not had many blackouts in my lifetime. Apparently Nick had them all the time where she lives. I didn't in Manchester, so that's crazy. No, not an earthquake, just electrics. All the electrics went off. All the car alarms have gone off outside, so we had a blackout in the entire area. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I was talking about Rico Lewis. Basically, I can't remember where I was at. I was talking about Rico. And I was saying, I really do believe Rico just needs a rest. I feel like when you're young, if all those around you are dropping their heads, I do believe... I think the young players are way more susceptible to that. And I think Rico right now is struggling with fitness. Rico is such a vibrant, intelligent player. Rico Lewis at his very best. Go back and watch games early on, by the way. I think you're forgetting how good he was. He was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. Rico at his best, he didn't make the wrong calls. He was always everywhere he needed to be. His positional sense looked good. He was sharp. He was alive. He was quick. He was making the right passes. He was just here, there, and everywhere. He was involved going forward. He used to be like making 1-2s and going past people and all that kind of stuff. I'd be like, where's he just come from? He was just popping up everywhere, and now it doesn't feel like we see him in that same way. So I feel like Rico needs a rest, and everyone needs to remember that young players are susceptible. Finally, and we'll get there in the end, I really do feel that January signings are an absolute must. I feel like we cannot ignore the elephant in the room right here. The squad needs a refresh, and why not start in January? I'm a firm believer that the best time to fix a problem, if you've missed it, is now. Like it's never too late to rectify a problem, and I think we should go back into it, January, and use that as the springboard for the rebuild. I think January signings and the start of rebuild are an absolute must, because look, we can't pretend that Rodri is going to come back as he is. He might do, but there's no guarantee. Like, Rodri is, Rodri is staring down a long injury. He'll be 29 by the time next season starts. So he's 29 years old. It could take him best part of the year to get his form back up again. So therefore, he'll be probably, 29 and a half, pushing 30 by the time he's at his best form. He'll be nearly 30 years old. We'll be looking to sign a player at that point anyway. And there's no guarantee Rodri's going to be available and great by the start of next season. So I've got a picture of Zubimendi, by the way, because he seemed the obvious shout. If he's got a release course, go for someone like Zubimendi. But I do feel you just have to start looking forward now. Like, I'm not even against 2 midfield signings in January. That Ricci fella from Torino, someone like Zubimendi, backup striker, just go for it, man. If you've got the money burning in your pocket, And maybe the decision's been made by then on 115 and all that kind of stuff. Just do it. I think like we can't ignore the elephant in the room. You know, it's absolutely slapping us in the face with its big old elephant trunk, and we and we are absolutely suffering for it. Like we should do. Like a release clause special for cheeky Josh. I absolutely agree. Even Mendy, if he's got one, look, I don't know if he's the perfect signing. What I do know is that he's shown for Spain at very least he can step into that role and be great. And we need a controller. We need. He reminds me more of a young Gundogan than even Mendy. But a 26-year-old Gundogan right now, God, I would take that in a heartbeat, wouldn't you guys? I think that's what we need. A guy who can play deep, win the ball, progress it up the pitch, get forward, contribute everywhere. Yeah, someone like him would be wonderful. And I think the squad is too small. And the number of games that are going to come up, if you want a challenge at the business end of the season, there is going to be a spell where two of Gundogan, Kovacic, De Bruyne, and someone, I don't know, we're going to have injuries. We're going to have injuries again. We're going to have injuries again, basically. 51 million for Zubimendi. Come on, man. We signed Nunes and Kovacic for, and we signed Nunes and Phillips around that price. Zubimendi's twice the player of them as a central midfielder. I really feel strongly about that. But we're going to have injuries again. And I don't think there's any point pretending otherwise. It's not like, we didn't replace Alvarez and we've lost Rodri. We're absolutely crying out for someone to sort of come in and bolster the squad a little bit. So it's one of those things where right now, if we can sort it out and sign a player, why not do it? Why not do it? And I feel like it's the right time. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, this video went longer than planned to because of the blackout. Thanks very much for watching. 5 things that I learned there is that it's been coming this run of forms for various reasons. Rico needs a rest. SimpsonPY is a real talent. We need goal scorers, and we should get going in January for signings. For now, thanks for watching. Life will be okay. I promise you. We'll get through it. We'll be all right. Guys, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for waiting during the blackout. Don't know what's going to do in the long-term video. We will be okay. Enjoy your international break, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another video. Bye-bye.